You have all probably seen those Draw My Life videos that a couple years ago were all over YouTube. Awkward introvert struggles growing up, finds YouTube, and ends up happy and successful. You're probably expecting me to do the same thing. Well, I'm not going to. Instead of telling you the same old story for the 1000th time, I'm instead going to tell you the story of my literacy, and how literacy has defined me as a writer. Literacy can be defined as the mastery or fluent control over a secondary discourse. A plainer definition I would use is literacy is being able to communicate and understand all aspects of a certain event or practice. So for example, I can be literate in Latin, but I can also be literate in, let's say, basketball or karate. Any situation that requires a certain use of language can be considered a literacy. But that's not why I'm talking right now. I'm here to tell you about my life and how my acquisition of different discourses has shaped my identity. Growing up, I've always been involved in a wide variety of activities. I took Spanish in kindergarten, started playing instruments at age 8, and played almost every sport imaginable for at least a season. Along with that, I've competed nationally in science competitions and started attending college classes at the age of 11. It's pretty clear by looking at my wide variety of interests that I've always been fascinated by knowledge and learning new skills. This need to learn has caused me to love reading and writing. Due to early sponsorship by my parents, I've grown into an individual always looking to self-sponsor the learning of new discourses, and these discourses have shaped my identity. Shirley Heath in the article What No Bedtime Stories Means, Narrative Skills at Home and School defines literacy as events in which written language is integral to the nature of participants' interactions and their interpretive process and strategies. To put it simply, literary events are specific actions a person does that involve the interpretation of a form of language. Heath talks about how the practice of reading bedtime stories is most commonly the first influential literary event for young children. This is true for me, and more specifically, I would be reading the Magic Treehouse series with my mom around the age of 8. My brother, mom, and I would sit in the loft of the house I grew up in and read the books almost every night. I remember constantly begging her not to stop, always wanting to know whether the two main characters would get home safely. This would make my mom my first literary sponsor. Literary sponsors are essentially any person, institute, or resource that has caused the increase of a person's literary knowledge. Grant, page 47. So in this case, my mom would be a sponsor because not only was she the first person to teach me how to read, she was also the main resource from which I had access to books. Between the picture books, the leaf pad I was given in first grade, and the education-based TV shows she put on for me to watch, my mom was my access point to literacy. For taking the time to read books with me while I was younger, encouraging me to read on my own, she is part of the main reason I have such a love for reading and learning as I do now. As I mentioned earlier, literacy is the acquisition of new discourses. A discourse is a language needed in a specific situation to say or write the right thing in the right way while playing the right social role and appearing to hold the right values, beliefs, and attitudes. G, page 6. Discourses can be religious-based, social-based, sports-based, and many others. Basically, a discourse is being able to function as deemed appropriate for a specific situation. All the discourses a person is fluent in then creates their identity. A main discourse that has shaped my identity is that of music. When I was 8 years old, I started taking music lessons for the first time on cello. Learning how to read music was a new type of literacy for me. I had to learn a new language completely foreign to what up until 4th grade was the only language I knew. Not only did I have to learn to read the individual notes, I had to learn all the terms associated with the discourse. In my music lessons, I remember my teacher giving me sheet music, but inside each note was the letter for which it represented. This allowed me over time to associate the placement of the notes with their names. Through this, I learned to read bass clef. As I acquired more and more of this discourse, it became part of my identity and affected the language I used in competition every day. With this new discourse, I could identify the instruments in the songs of the radio or count through the piano music in the elevator. This literacy was also a big part of my relationship with my father. While to some people my musicianship would be seen as just music, to me, music means spending time with my dad. Music to me involved the 30-minute car rides to and from lessons, it was watching the trains at the train track near my lesson building, and it was all the stories of his youth I got to hear along the way. This literacy was furthered as I got older and learned to play more and more instruments and was put in situations that required a more complete understanding of all parts of the discourse. I picked up drumming my senior year, which required being able to read drum notation as well as treble clef. I also self-taught myself upright bass and electric bass, which required being able to read much farther down the bass staff than had been required by cello. Self-sponsorship was a huge part of my acquisition of the literacy of music. At this point in time, I play around 10 instruments. Only 3 of those have I ever received any formal instruction in. The bass knowledge I received from the sponsorship of my dad and my elementary music teachers was the encouragement I needed to further self-sponsor my own literacy. By the end of my senior year of high school, I believe I can say I fully acquired the discourse of being a musician, because I can now function completely in that community and have control over all aspects of their language. Being a musician is definitely an essential part of my identity and something that makes me who I am. My room was littered with instruments, and everything I did in and outside of school was based around music. Discourses are an essential part of any